So hello. There once was a ship, and it was called the Bounty, and it was purchased by the Royal Navy, and it was originally a cargo ship. It was fitted to be a rig, a full rig, and they put it on this mission to Tahiti to grab breadfruit.
Tahiti?
Tahiti.
Tahini. Like
Tahiti.
the sauce?
No, Tahiti. Like in the Polynesian Islands. Tahiti sauce.
Breadfruit?
Breadfruit.
I farmed that in Zombie Farm, Kim.
Yes. That's what it was called, was breadfruit. Zombie fruit. Breadfruit. And they were on a mission to go get the breadfruit from Tahiti and bring it back to Australia, basically. It was basically to Australia / like, you know, it was the East Indies. Actually, sorry, it was the East Indies, in the hopes that it would farm well there and they could be able to reproduce it and have it as a cheap food for the slaves. Were they really slaves? Were they? Were they? Anyways, whoa, I was a little bit of SP there. Figure it out. She's making the face, so she's figuring it out. Okay, anyways, so they had this one ship called the Bounty. It was originally the Bethia, but it was the...
Running low on battery.
You're running low on battery?
Hurry up.
Okay, I'm sorry. You shouldn't have told me that. Okay, so they sent it from basically England. They sent it from England to Tahiti. England, Spithead, to Tahiti to grab its breadfruit and bring it back. And
Spithead?
Yes, shush. To bring it back to the East Indies in order to multiply. So they go and they try to get around Cape Horn, around the Southern America bit. You're not even recording this, are you? Anyways, they tried to bring it around Cape Horn, the southernmost bit of South America.
Cape Horn the first time.
Anyways, they tried to bring it around Cape Horn. They couldn't make it. They tried several times. They couldn't make it. And so they came back up. They went all the way around the other side of the world in order to get to Tahiti. They went around South Africa in order to get around and past Australia to get to Tahiti. And this entire ship spent 5 months in Tahiti to try, because they got too early in order to harvest the breadfruit in order to bring it back and try to reproduce it in the East Indies. So they spent 5 months there, and the crew started becoming really into the native way of life. They started becoming really into the native women. They started becoming really into the native ways of life. They started getting tattoos, and on the way to Tahiti, the captain of the ship, Captain Bligh, he actually demoted this other guy and promoted Fletcher to first mate. And Fletcher started actually becoming really into the native ways of Tahiti, and Bligh actually started going a little bit crazy. He started getting a little bit of in the cock block zone. So he actually, every time that somebody acted out of order, even when they're on the ship in the middle of the sea, if someone acted out of order in that way, they wouldn't have flogged him, but floggings become like a weekly ordeal. They started becoming really frequent, and everyone started to hate Bligh for that. And so after 5 months, 3 people already tried to abandon ship. They already took them as prisoners in the 5 months that they were there, because it was desertion. And so when they went out to sea, about 20 days after they were at sea, there was a mutiny. And so, because everyone was like, Bligh's a fucking cockblock. He's a fucking dick. He's a dick. Bligh's the biggest cockblock besides Jesus. He's second to Jesus.
And IB.
What?
And IB.
And IB. IB is a really big cockblock. Anyways, so they were out to sea for a while. They mutinied, and Fletcher, who he had promoted to his first mate and demoted somebody else, he was like, I'm gonna fucking mutiny you with all 22 people. Apparently there were about half the people mutinied, half the people stayed with the Captain Bligh. What happened was there were only enough, like, you know, people, except for 6, to be on the boat that they would set adrift with Captain Bligh. So like 6 people have to stay afloat on our boat. Anyways, 6 people have to stay on a boat, and the rest of you can go adrift. So 6 people stayed on the boat that was mutinied as prisoners. The other people went adrift at sea with Captain Bligh. The rest of the people eventually went back to Tahiti, and they're like, we fucking love your women, we fucking want to stay with you, and blah, blah, blah. All the people that were with Captain Bligh but couldn't be on the boat because there wasn't enough room stayed at Tahiti. A few people stayed at Tahiti, and la-di-da-di-da freaking da, after a long while, about 15 people, including Fletcher, who mutinied Captain Bligh, who was second in command on the ship, settled on this remote Australian island in order to evade the British Army for mutiny, and 11 other crewmates, 6 other Polynesians who they captived, basically. They were like, oh, we need 6 other people to help us sail the ship from your Polynesian island. Polynesians were like, here, take our 6 men. And 11 women from Polynesia, that's a little iffy on the numbers, Polynesian women came with them. They almost immediately captived the Polynesian men in order to get the women, and they eventually settled on an island right off of Australia. And the thing is that 20 years later, after the mutiny, actually not even 20 years later, pretty soon after Bligh was set adrift on the sea, he encountered cannibals, unfriendly natives to Polynesia, unfriendly natives to Australia and the East Indies, and I don't know where I am right now, but he was chased by cannibals, and he eventually escaped and ended up back in Great Britain after being set adrift by his friend fucking mutineer. He was set adrift. He made it back to Great Britain and told everybody to look for the bounty because it was mutineered, and they couldn't find it until they found Flotsam and Jetsam, and they found people who used to be on the bounty, but they couldn't actually find the bounty because it was set aflame by the people who settled on the island that was uninhabited. Well, it was kind of inhabited, but anyways. When they actually found the last remaining bountiers, it was only one person. And the person they found was John Adams, who's not mentioned anywhere else except for in the last final frames, last final little bits of the bounty. They found John Adams alone on this island with 9 other women, and that was just it. They just was like, oh shit, here we found the last person, because eventually, like, 20 people settled on this island with, like, 16 women and whatnot, and they're just like, oh, okay, well, what do we have? We have food, we have water, we have everything, except that we want all the women. So we're gonna kill everybody! And then eventually just found John Adams, and he was being a pimp on the island by himself, being like, yeah, I got 9 women, 23 kids. I'm not making that number up. It might have been 22, might have been 21, but it was 21 to 23 children and 9 women by himself on this island being a pimp. O.G. pimpin'.